Generation X was raised inside humble yet rugged homes that we couldn't wait to escape, but 40 years later, we wish we could return to. Just a quick reminder that if you enjoy our unique perspective about growing up in the 70s and 80s, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and join in the conversation by leaving us a comment. Now, back to Generation X, our childhood homes. First, our homes were modest in both size and furnishings. They were mostly earth tones and browns and yellows and reds, sort of like the color of autumn leaves in our towns. The heartbeat of the home was the kitchen, where there was always something baking in the oven. Kitchen floors were linoleum and came in 3 patterns. Take your pick. You can see which one my family picked. Everybody had a yellow kitchen phone that hung from the wall. It had a long cord that twisted to the floor from years of pulling while cooking, doing the dishes, or eating. If a parent or a child stretched the cord into the next room, that meant you should respect their privacy and not eavesdrop. We all knew our friends' phone numbers by heart, and after a while, you could identify your friends' parents by their little catchphrases, as in, "Can you tell Billy I called?" "Righto." "Can you tell Eileen I'll pick her up at 8?" "Will do." "Can you tell Wesley to bring 2 bags of ice for the keg?" "Consider it done." Generation X kitchens were like highway diners, open 24 hours a day. Family rooms were the focal point of the home, often with classic 70s and 80s wood paneling. A macrame owl draping the wall. A brown and white shag carpet, and not so gently used furniture like fabric couches, sofas, and reclining armchairs. The fireplace usually was in the middle of the room, warming both hearth and home. And we were surrounded by our pets. It was in our family rooms that most memories were created. There was the Saturday morning cartoons, the first day of school photos, the Halloween pictures that we took, the opening of Christmas presents. My childhood family room answered the sentence, "Where were you when?" as in, where were you when the blizzard of '78 hit? Where were you when our hockey team beat the Soviets in 1980? Where were you when we found out who shot JR? Where were you when Reggie knocked that 3 home runs in 1 World Series game? And finally, where were you when Fonzie jumped the shark? Well, you saw it all on your family room TV. Some of the best places in our houses were outside. Backyards, for instance, were for a lot of things. In summer, it was the old school swimming pool, when half the neighborhood came over. In autumn, it was tackle football, when half the neighborhood came over. Your front yard was where we met up to go bike riding. Bedrooms were places to hang posters of every rock band, actor, or athlete you admired or wanted to marry. And the famous Farrah Fawcett poster was in 77.7% of boyhood bedrooms, and chiefly responsible for boys hitting puberty months earlier than expected. Girls sometimes put cutouts from the magazine Tiger Beat on their bedroom walls. Sometimes their girlfriends came over to the house to go tanning in the backyard. Before the age of 13, you could find stacks of Mad magazine under the boys' beds. After 13, you'd find another magazine under the bed. But this is a G-rated show, so we won't go there. In looking back, the most amazing thing about growing up in this generation had nothing to do with the actual home. It had to do with your neighbors. Back then, people just showed up unannounced, and it was completely normal. It was like a pop-up party, a flash fiesta, a celebration of life. Here's comedian Sebastian Maniscalco to explain.
It's a different feeling when your doorbell rings today opposed to 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, your doorbell rang, that was a happy moment in your house. It's called company. You'd be sitting there on a Thursday night watching TV. Your doorbell rang, the whole family shot off the couch. Oh my God! Put the lights on, somebody's here. We got people. The whole family went to the door. The kids were in socks. They slid up to the door. Nobody looked to see who it was. Right? You just opened up the door. You were like, oh my God, look at that.
It's true. It's all true. And if you didn't know where the gang was, you just looked for the bikes scattered on the front lawn. Mothers were around and were constantly bringing us food, our favorite drinks, and asking about our parents. This made you feel special inside, like you were valuable members of the community. If people were in competition with each other, keeping up with the Joneses kind of stuff, I was oblivious to it. In an age before social media, the preoccupation to compare your home and lifestyle to another family's home and lifestyle was pretty much non-existent. If it did exist, how could we have ever moved about so freely from one friend's house to another, completely without fear of being judged or compared? Our friends' homes were simply extensions of our own. It was indeed a great childhood. Until next time, tough kids of Generation X, always remember that back is the way forward. TKO, Tough Kid out.